The Ravens Preview Show with Andy Pollin starts right now.
It wasn't perfect, it wasn't pretty, but it was the Ravens.
Listen to all Ravens broadcasts right here on 6:30 a.m., the ESPN 630 app, or ESPN630DC.com.
And with 1:17 left to play, the Hayes in the barn.
Now, here's Andy Pollin.
Ravens playing on Monday night this week as they play at Tampa. That'll be an 8:15 kickoff, and our coverage here on Sunday will start at 7:30. In a league that we talk about as being week to week, it's amazing the difference that a month can make. Ravens start the year 0-2. They play the opening game of the season at Kansas City. No shame in losing to the defending champs. Close game. Then they come home and they blow a 10-point fourth quarter lead against the Raiders. And everybody is freaking out. Oh, my God. What's going on in Baltimore? Their defense can't hold the lead. Lamar Jackson isn't the MVP that he was last year. They're having trouble integrating Derrick Henry into the offense, blah, 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 blah. And here they are 4 games later, and they're looking like a team that could make it to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson has not taken them there yet, but this could be the year that happens. And there are some who look at his play and saying he's playing better than he ever has, even with his second MVP last year. And they're talking about MV3 for Lamar. But a long way to go. They got 11 games to go, and they're playing a Tampa Bay team, which has looked pretty good at times. They look good in beating Washington in the opening game. And they are certainly a playoff contending team this year, as they are 4-2 on the season as well, and tied with the surprising Atlanta Falcons. This will be the 8th meeting between the two teams. The Ravens lead 5-2 in the series, and they won the last 5. Last meeting was in October of 2022. They won 27-22 with Lamar Jackson beating Tom Brady. Lamar threw for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brady 325 and 1 touchdown, but the running game was the difference as the Bucs managed only 44 yards rushing while Baltimore rang up 231. And that's probably going to be a big factor in this game as well, as Derrick Henry has really hit his stride. And if you watched him play and if you watched the entire game last week against the Commanders, they pretty much ran the Rigo drill with him at the end of the game, put the game in the cooler as he ran for, I believe, 138 yards and was able to put that game out of reach. As for the turnaround of the team, on Good Morning Football, they had Zay Flowers on. If you saw Zay Flowers' first half last week, 9 catches for over 130 yards, both career highs. They didn't really use him in the second half as a receiver, probably more as a decoy, as there was an adjustment on defense, but it was a kind of pick-your-poison thing with the Ravens, because if you stop Lamar in the pass, you're going to have a difficult time stopping the run, which they obviously did against Derrick Henry. But this was Flowers with the Good Morning Football crew talking about the 0-2 start to the now 4-2 record.
I mean, I feel like we had the same mindset the whole time. We just, the O-line was getting used to each other. We had a new defensive coordinator. And this was our second year in the offense, and we ain't played the preseason with each other. So once we got a feel for each other and once we knew everything, the offensive line got a better feeling of playing with each other, that we was going to start clicking. It was only a matter of time before that happened.
Yeah, well, coaches can go off, like, on that Monday morning meeting. You know how they go off on us, right? They start pointing things out. Was Coach throwing stuff around? Was he, like, calling guys out? Like, what was it that just lit a fire under you guys? Because you're right, you guys are a different team.
We practiced the same way. We did everything the same. Coach Hartz actually came in and just talked about what we could have did better. And we felt like we beat ourselves in those first 2 games. So it wasn't really like, oh, this team did this to us or they beat us this way. I felt like we just beat ourselves, and we knew once we got rid of those penalties and mistakes that we was going to have a good run.
Zay, I love going to Baltimore and watching games in that building. There is such a vibe. Yeah. There is such a rooted history from different eras that just bleeds into these games. Take a second to talk about the Ravens fans, because I think that, we talk about the Steelers and the Cowboys as these national brands, but there might be no more passionate fan base than what is there in Baltimore, and really how you guys feed off them in the second half of that game.
I think, we do got a passionate fan base, because I'll tell you one story. We was at the 49ers last year on Christmas, I think it was. and they was doing the national anthem, and during the national anthem, the Ravens fans always go, "Oh," in the middle of it. Oh. And I turned and looked at my coach. I'm like, they loud. And he was like, yeah, that's our fans. And I was like, what? That's crazy. I didn't know they travel like that. So ever since then, I see how passionate they've been for the team, man. Even when we home in a way, it still feel like a home game.
That's Zay Flowers. They're playing on the road this week. They're playing at Tampa, but I guess they'll have a good traveling crew if they went all the way to San Francisco last year. It was kind of interesting last week when so many fans of the Commanders were able to make their way into the stadium. A lot of people surprised at the Burgundy and Gold in the stadium, but they do have a very good fan base. As for now, the flowers, no pun intended, being thrown at the Ravens after the 0-2 start to now 4-2. John Harbaugh in his 15th year, been there, done that, seen it. Here's his take on people now praising the Ravens for how good they are.
I think just put in perspective. I mean, it's not hard for guys to remember what was being said 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. So noise is noise. New noise is new noise. So it doesn't matter. It's just pretty much at the end of the day, it's what you do every day to be the best player that you can be. We seek improvement. You know, we want to be, we say 1% better. We say better today than yesterday, better tomorrow than today. All those things we say, what we're really trying to do is see if we can, improve on one thing all the time. That's the thing. So we're always improving on something all the time. And if we can do that, then, we're in a good place. All the rest of it is, no guys read it. It's okay to read, good and bad. It's fine. You read it. But it shouldn't really impact your process.
Block out the noise. That's what they say. Derrick Henry, after all those years playing at Tennessee, it was assumed that he was going to go to the Cowboys, but because Jerry Jones hasn't managed the salary cap very well, he says he never got an offer. Wanted to play in Baltimore, realizes Baltimore is a better team. And after the 0-2 start, 4 straight wins, he playing a big factor in it, leading the league in rushing. It's fun.
When you win, everything is fun. I mean, that makes everything fun. And, it's just about me playing football. I fell in love with this game when I was 5 years old. And, I know it's a business side to it, but when you're out there, you're just playing like you were a kid again, and just like everybody else on the team, offense, defense, we're all in together to get a win. And when you accomplish that, it's just a great feeling, a great accomplishment that we did something together. So, it's been fun a lot.
Derrick Henry, he is – I never really saw Jim Brown play. I imagine Jim Brown was like this against, smaller players. But, man, he's a Hall of Famer. He's got over 10,000 yards, and he is something else to try and stop. And we'll see what Tampa Bay can do against him on Monday night. Last thing is the Lamar Jackson MVP talk, and that he may be playing the best football of his career. Asked about that yesterday, said yesterday,
I just think my everything is like slowing down even more just from the years I've been in the league, and seeing all type of defenses, seeing all type of blitzes. Everything is just second nature right now. So I'm just trying to be a better player myself, each and every year. So I just say everything's just slowing down. That's what's happening. Here's
the kind of year he's having. He's 7th in passing with 1,500 yards, 8th in rushing with 403 yards, and he's on pace to break the numbers from last year where he threw for 3,600 yards and ran for 821. And he's had some unbelievable plays this year, like when he stiff-armed Bengals defensive end Sam Hubbard. You've probably seen the replay of that, and then threw a touchdown pass to Isaiah Likely in Cincinnati. Then, you got all these people, buzzing about MV3 and all that. And he's actually, downplaying that, which is pretty typical of the things he said. He said, I don't really care about the hype. I'm not going to dwell on an MVP trophy or anything like that. I never have. Even when I won it, I never dwelled on it. It was just about me trying to win each game that I'm in. And the same thing from now. I'm still trying to win these games to get to February and win in February. And that is the hole in his resume, because he's the only multiple MVP winner yet to win a Super Bowl. So, that's something that he obviously wants to change. He wants to get to a Super Bowl. And if he does win 3, he'd become the 7th player in NFL history to get 3. Jim Brown, Johnny Unitas, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers would be the others. Brady and Rodgers will get to the Hall of Fame. And going into this week, Jackson is the second leading betting favorite, trailing only Patrick Mahomes to win the MVP. So there's all that. And the one other part of this, and he doesn't get into this, but it is interesting to note that this game matches consecutive Heisman Trophy winners in Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson. But Mayfield went number one, and Lamar lasted all the way to the end of the first round in the same draft. So you could make something of this matchup. He could talk about chip on his shoulder and things like that, but he's not going to go there.
No, I just want to win. I go out there and I just want to look at every game the same way. And he's a tremendous quarterback. He has been since college. Ever since I've known him, even going back to Heisman. Both of us won Heisman the year back-to-back from each other. So, yeah, a little bit. You can say we got a relationship a little bit from there. But outside of football, I really don't be around other quarterbacks. So I don't know. Every time y'all ask me about another quarterback, it's like, I don't know what to say, Love the game. I love his game, man. He's still the same person from what I see. From afar, he's still the same Baker. Still making things happen for those guys.
Yeah, both teams 4-2. Makes for an interesting matchup on Monday Night Football. And, again, our coverage here will start at 7:30 on Sunday, 8:15 kickoff as the Ravens go for 5-2 on the year. That wraps up Ravens preview. I'll finish up the week with some odds and ends as we continue. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.